Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to Nature Obscura, a podcast where nature and the supernatural collide. I'm Marissa.
And I'm Grace. Each week, we share spooky happenings from the great outdoors, from cryptids to curses, ghosts to witches, and everything in between.
Now, while we love a haunted house or a scary hospital story, that's not what we're here for. We're taking you around the globe to explore where nature and the supernatural intersect.
And at the beginning of each episode, we're going to briefly share any spooky or naturey encounters we've had over the past week, before diving into some natural history and then the main story.
So grab your flashlight, listen closely, and don't forget your binoculars, because today's episode is all about owls.
It's because we skipped that one episode, we had to compensate.
We had to overcome, yeah.
Talking about birds, so.
That was genuinely my train of thought, kind of. So I did get a book from the library in this past week called Bird Lore, and it's all about like folklore and magic and myths of birds. And I was like, oh, that could be a fun episode. And it did remind me, we skipped a whole episode talking about birds because we were talking about crocodiles and alligators, that I thought that could be fun. So excited to do it.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've heard lore about owls here and there, but I've never really heard of a deep dive of owls. So I'm really excited about that.
Every culture has some opinion on owls. It's not just doesn't mention much about it. It's very strongly opinioned one way or another, or it's both. The owls are definitely a mystery.
Yeah, definitely. I've worked with owls. We both have, probably in some capacity. Have you ever worked with an owl?
Just once, when maybe a small handful of times when we've had owls brought to our center accidentally.
Mhm.
People showing up with them, but not too much really.
But just seeing them, and I always say it's magical because they're so cute, yet such highly specialized animals. And I'll go into all of that. But do you have anything spooky or naturey for us this week, Marissa?
I guess just one thing was spooky, but not too naturey. Cody, who's recently started welding, he was wearing safety glasses, but he got a little bit of metal stuck in his eye. And you'd think oh, they're just gonna flush it out. That's fine. Well, when they discovered it, they were like, yeah, we're gonna have to pick that out. We're like, what? So discovered, thankfully, they were able to flush it out, whatever. It was able to come out on its own. They didn't have to, but because it can fuse in the eye, they have to go through with a needle and remove the metal from the eye. And then you have to go to ophthalmologist, or they have to call one in, and they will go in with a tiny Dremel and Dremel around the eye where the metal was to remove any rust, because I guess it can rust really easily in the eye. It's disgusting.
Oh my gosh, this is horrible. It's
Yes.
horrifying. Ugh.
He was literally so happy when they discovered that it had came out on its own, because he was, understandably terrified. But yeah, thankfully everything's fine. In other spooky news, we did go to a Mexican restaurant this morning, which was this afternoon, which was fantastic. But this has never happened to me before. A robot brought us our food, and it scared us. It was playing music, and it was talking to us, and it was like, "Wait to grab the trays. Your waiter will be right here." And it was so weird, and we didn't feel like it happened to anyone else. And Cody was just laughing and looked at me. He's like, "Are we gonna die?" It was just that vibe. It was so weird.
What did the
Um,
robot look like?
it was like a table, shelves of trays, and then on each shelf there was one of our plates, and it was just white, and it was just so strange.
Wow, it's amazing that they have that, but then they still rely on the waiter to do most of the work.
Yeah, I don't
What's
honestly
the
know what the
point?
point of it was, but I'd never seen it before, so it was interesting. What about you? Anything naturey or spooky?
I have something that's naturey. I've been seeing so many moths at my house lately, which has revamped my new passion for moths. So I've been identifying all of them. One was the imperial moth, and then
Ooh.
Yeah, it was really big, probably, I don't know, 4 inches across. It was on my front porch, and then there was a painted lichen moth, I believe it was called, as well.
They're beautiful.
Well, I thought it was gonna die because it was really weak and everything, so I moved it onto like, further onto my porch out of the sun, and after a few hours, it was gone. But then I saw the painted lichen moth, and that one's really cute too. It's much smaller. At first, I didn't realize that it was a moth. I was like, "What is this bug?" Because it kind of looks like it has the same coloration as a firefly.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, and then I looked up one more. Or no, yeah, I saw one more, and I looked it up, but I can't remember where it was in my app. The iNaturalist didn't save it, but it was a tiny, tiny moth, like, less than a quarter of an inch, probably, like, an eighth of an inch, tiny. It was adorable, it was white,
Hmm,
and I was obsessed, but I think that you should come over sometime really soon, and we need to go mothing here because clearly there are a lot of moths, and you have to see all the fireflies
I
too.
agree. We have to do that. Gotta make a plan of it. Awesome. I don't really got a segue, um, but
Mm.
moths fly, and so do owls, and maybe even some, like, owls eat moths. Do you think maybe, like, a small owl would eat a big moth?
I bet owls eat moths, yeah,
Yeah.
because 'cause they're both
Well,
nocturnal, so they're both out and about at the same time. Did you know that every time you look at a bird, you're actually looking at a living dinosaur? For over a century, the idea that birds are living dinosaurs was highly debated, but today it's widely accepted by paleontologists. Avian evolution actually began during the Jurassic period, roughly 150 million years ago. And while everyone here knows that I would love to go on a deep dive on this subject of bird evolution, I'm not going to. Instead, I want to direct you to a book that I'm currently 26 pages into, The Story of Birds: A New History from Their Dinosaur Origins to the Present by Steve Broussat. And like I said, I've only just started this book, but it's already really interesting and thought provoking. Like, one of the things I thought was really interesting that I read was, back in the day, like the 1800s, 1700s, people didn't really research wildlife and birds because they just a lot of people were very religious and they just thought that, God created all of these for a reason. There's no reason to look into it, all of that stuff. So nobody did. And then finally people started asking questions and they're like, oh, this is
that's cool.
interesting. So, birds are truly one of the most successful groups of animals to have ever existed. They've diversified into over 10,000 species worldwide. They survived the asteroid that wiped out the non avian dinosaurs, and they've proven themselves to be masters of adaptation. They can fly, they have lightweight bones, and they're highly intelligent, among countless other adaptations that have helped them dominate every single continent on Earth. One of these highly specialized groups of birds is the owls, which we're going to be focusing on for this episode. And if you're interested in learning scientific orders and family names like me, the order owls belong to is called Strigiformes. This group holds around 220 to 225 known extant species, so species that are alive today. Branching off of that, owls are divided into two distinct families. The true or typical owl family is Strigidae, and the barn owl and bay owl family is Titonidae. I added lots of pictures for this episode. So, Marissa, there's the bay owl on the left because I'd never heard of a bay owl. I was like, how is that different
Looks
than a barn
insane.
owl? Very cute. Looks
It
like an
really
alien.
does.
And then there's the barn owl and the crested owl, which I was just amazed by, and the forest owlet, and the white-faced owl. So those last 3, those were ones where I was like, "What's the weirdest kinds of owls out there?"
There is so much variation in their appearance, and I adore all of them. The crested owl has looks like the wisest owl of all time with the longest kind of eyebrows. It puts the great horned owl,
Mhm.
to shame, which is really saying something. Amazing.
It does. Physically, owls possess large, forward facing eyes and ear holes, a hawk like beak, a flat face, and usually a facial disc around the face and each eye. The feathers making up this disc can actually be adjusted to sharply focus sounds from varying distances right into the owl's asymmetrically placed ear cavities. An owl's forward facing eyes grant them a great sense of depth perception, which is necessary for low light hunting. While they have excellent binocular vision, they must rotate their entire heads to change their focus because, like most birds, their eyes are fixed in their sockets, which is something I never thought about. I always knew that owls had fixed eyes, but I never really thought that maybe other types of birds would, but it makes sense because they're always like turning their head.
What does that mean? I guess I don't understand what that means.
Yeah, so that basically means that they can't move their eyes independently from their head. They have to turn their entire head
Oh,
to
wow.
look around. And amazingly, owls can rotate their heads and necks as much as 270 degrees. And while humans have 7 neck vertebrae, owls have 14. And on top of that, most owls share an innate ability to fly almost silently, and they fly more slowly compared to other birds of prey. They mostly live a nocturnal lifestyle, or they're crepuscular, which means active at dawn and dusk. All owls are carnivorous birds of prey. They live on diets consisting of insects, small rodents, and lagomorphs, which are rabbits and hares. Some owl species are also specifically adapted to hunt fish. Ultimately, they're incredibly adept hunters in each of their respective environments all over the world. The smallest owl is the elf owl, weighing as little as 31 grams and measuring only about 5 and a quarter
Wow.
inch. It's really small, and I added some awkward pictures below, kind of trying to show the size of these animals. So, this bird would fit in the palm of your hand. But on the other end of the spectrum, the largest owls belong to similarly sized species, the Eurasian eagle owl, which is called bubo bubo, which is hilarious, and the Blakiston's fish owl. The largest females of these species can reach about 28 inches in length, and that supports a massive 75-inch wingspan, and they can weigh up to 9.25 pounds. And if you want the biggest owl, the Ornithomegalonyx, commonly known as the Cuban giant owl, was a massive prehistoric bird that stood approximately 3 feet and 7 inches tall. This predator was mostly flightless, but it could fly when startled or if under pressure. It went extinct at the end of the late Pleistocene period, approximately 11,700 years ago. I put a little diagram here to show you how tall this
That's
owl
obscene
was.
and unnatural.
Yeah, it's like a freaking dog. And before I stop talking about birds, I do want to take a moment to remember 5 unique owl species that were lost to modern extinction, all victims of human expansion and ecological disruption. In the Indian Ocean, there are several different islands that had very unique owls. There was the Reunion Scops owl in the late 17th century, known only by its bones, the Rodriguez Scops owl in the 18th century due to severe deforestation, and the Meridius Scops owl by the mid 1800s from deforestation and hunting. Across the globe, the Bermuda saw-whet owl vanished in the early 1600s after European settlement altered its island ecosystem. And New Zealand's laughing owl was ultimately wiped out in the 1910s by habitat loss and introduced predators. Not sure if it can get much darker than extinction, but next let's discover the dark legends that make us look twice at the night sky.
Owls have long been associated with omens of death across cultures and religions around the world, dating back to the times of ancient Rome and beyond. But what is it about these birds that have caused humans for thousands of years to look into the darkness and see something more than just an animal? Their silent flight, strange appearance, and haunting calls have made them creatures that seem to exist between two worlds. They are often viewed as symbols of wisdom and protection, but at the same time, they have been feared as messengers of death, companions of witches, and even creatures connected to the otherworldly. Some of the earliest recorded fears of owls came from ancient Rome. Beliefs of the Romans at the time included that owls landing on public buildings would predict disaster, and hearing an owl near your home predicted death. Owls were reportedly sighted right before the deaths of both Julius Caesar and Augustus, two of the most famous ancient Romans. With stories like these circulating throughout Roman society, it is no wonder the Romans feared owls so intensely. Pliny the Elder was a Roman historian, author, and naturalist, and is best known for his 37-volume Naturalis Historia. So he was a big deal, and he wasn't a modern, like, historian talking about ancient Rome. He was alive during the time. I couldn't find much about his birth year, but he was estimated to have died around 37 AD. Insane. So in his writings, Pliny referred to owls as funereal birds and that they were extremely bad omens, and he even went so far as to describe them as an abomination of humankind.
How dare he?
It was intense. The superstitions involving owls in Roman culture did not end there. They would often nail dead owls to their front doors if they heard them make a call, because again, that's association with death and disaster incoming. So they then hunt the owl, and then nail it to their door as a way to kind of erase whatever bad was going to come.
I find that amazing
Yeah,
because, like, I go outside looking for owls and I cannot find any.
I don't know how they did it. I mean, maybe there was more owls then. We have
Yeah.
had a huge population decline. Yeah, I it might have worked because this was actually a thing into the 18th or 19th century, and it expanded across Europe, nailing owls to your front door to ward off
That's so sad.
evil. Yeah. Another belief was that, witches during this time would shift into owls and, suck blood from babies. So, there you have it.
As one does. Yeah.
As we're recording this, I'm sitting um, at the computer, and the I can see outside, and the sky just looks so strange right now. There's a lot of wildfires going on, which is very spooky and naturey. So the sky is looking super weird over here. I don't know if it is for you. It looks like it does like
I
right
don't
before a
know.
super bad storm. It's like greenish, brownish, orangish. It's really strange, but I'm assuming it's because the wildfires, and the air quality I know is very poor right now. So I'm gonna check on my
Yeah.
chickens after this. But yeah, it's just like it's very strange outside.
Yeah, right before we started recording, I was looking at a map, and all of Michigan is covered in smoke.
Yeah, I guess it was so bad in northern Michigan. I saw that there was like ash falling from the sky.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Got
Scary.
sidetracked, but it's like it's right there. So I'm just like, wow, man, it
Yeah.
looks so weird out. Ugh.
Yeah, it looks like it's just about to rain here, like, really cloudy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's just very strangely colored. But the Romans were not alone in viewing owls as creatures connected to death. Similarly, the Aztecs and Mayans also considered the owls a symbol of death and destruction. This is evidenced by the Aztec god of death, Mictlantecuhtli, often depicted with owls. The owls are often thought to guide the souls of those who died to the underworld. A Mayan religious text, the Popol Vuh, described owls as messengers of Xibalba, which translates to the place of fright. How spooky.
You think it's because they have such big black eyes that are kind of just like endless
I think
pits?
it's probably numerous factors. The eyes don't help. A lot of them have really weird calls. And like you
Yeah.
mentioned, they fly basically silently, and you really only ever see them at night. In general, the dark night is a
Yeah.
time of like apprehension. Um,
Mhm.
versus, seeing a bird or like that in the daytime, I think they'd be a lot less scary. What
Definitely.
is fascinating about the owl is that its meaning is rarely one dimensional. So, like we mentioned, it's just scary or just wise and all knowing. You'll often see the duality of that owl's meaning among numerous cultures and often within the same culture, which can be confusing. The owl is thought of as a protector or a guardian known for its wisdom, but also as a predictor or harbinger of bad omens and death. So, why did this one bird become associated with both knowledge and fear? part of the answer.
Especially because, like, working with owls, they are one of the dumbest birds. Like,
Really?
people always think they're so wise, but they're actually one of the dumbest and hardest to train because they just don't get it.
I had no idea. I thought they were smart. So they're not?
I know. You would think.
Okay, what is your bird ranking level of smarts? I guess, like, general, like, you don't have to do species specific, but, like, crow versus owl versus hawk, vulture.
Remember that corvid? I think it was a raven that we saw when we went to the St. Louis Zoo for my bachelorette party, and it completed a child's block puzzle where it put the shapes in this circle.
Yeah, I forgot
You
about
remember
that.
it put the
Yeah.
shapes in the blocks in the correct shapes. It was the most incredible thing I've ever witnessed in my entire life.
I blocked that from my mind. That was like a 3 to 5-year-old puzzle toy too. I definitely don't think an
Yeah.
owl could have done that.
No. No, so that is the top of my list.
It's kind of strange that corvids generally are also believed to be wiser, and like you said, like, the crow that we saw was, like, the smartest, craziest thing, but they're also thought to be kind of harbingers of death themselves and associated with bad omens. I wonder why
Yeah.
they both have that duality.
That's interesting. We'll have to do an episode on corvids one day.
Definitely. So owls are creatures built for the night. As you mentioned, they fly almost silently, appear suddenly out of darkness as a result, and some species have calls that sound almost unnatural. To people living before modern science explained these behaviors, the owl could seem less like an ordinary bird and more like a visitor from another world. Barn owls, in particular, have received nicknames such as ghost owl, death owl, and church owl for their all white appearance that appears almost luminescent under moonlight. They have been associated with countless ghost sightings as well due to their ghostly appearance. I even saw a Badlands birding article from a few years ago about how they believed that the barn owl was actually what people were seeing when they were having ghostly encounters because it's just so prevalent throughout the world. Um,
Yeah,
which,
I could totally see that. I mean, have you seen this picture before?
no, but that's terrifying. Are those baby barn
Yeah.
owls?
Yeah, like, if you saw that, you just, like, went into your barn at night and you saw that, you would think it was a demon
Oh, for sure.
or a ghost.
100%. Those are demons. Keep that in there. I'm gonna start posting on social media again. I'm gonna post that with, like, one of them.
I
Ugh,
know.
social media is hard, but,
We're both just so
it's
busy.
hard. Um, but this also reminds me, I was surprised when I was doing this research on owls, how often they were specifically mentioning the barn owl, because I think we talked about this on a past episode, but one of my first encounters with the barn owl was seeing it at that cemetery, sitting on the gravestone when we pulled up that, like, one October night years ago. And it really was and seemed otherworldly and large and spooky, but, of course, I was in awe and amazement of it. I wasn't
Yeah.
scared, but if I were there alone for whatever reason, if I was like, "Oh gosh, I'm turned around, I need to go park in this cemetery to right myself and get in the right direction," and I pull up and all of a sudden there's a giant owl right there, I probably would have been scared.
Yeah.
Probably, I would think, just know it being completely alone like that. Ugh.
But we also, like, we know birds. A lot of people don't know
Right.
birds, and if you just don't know what the hell that is, it's a demon that just took flight, and you don't know where it is because you can't hear the wings flapping.
Definitely. Speaking of demons, that barn owl call.
Mhm.
The calls of the barn owl are believed to be associated as a predictor of death in particular. And honestly, with how creepy that call is, I am not surprised at all. For listeners who haven't heard the call of a barn owl, pause this and search it. It is terrifying. I'd say it's probably the scariest bird call I've heard. Could you think of one that
No.
tops it?
Honestly, no, because it's just like it's a scream, and
It's a
a
scream.
screech, and it does that it's so eerie, I hate it. I love it, but I hate it.
Right. It's definitely a mixed
Yeah.
feeling sort of vibe. And while various owl species are thought to be omens of impending death and destruction, the barn owl in particular was actually attributed to the legend of the banshee. So, the legend of the banshee is rooted in Irish folklore and consists of a wailing ghost dressed in all white. which is typically a female spirit that screams a blood curdling scream and warns of an approaching death. Sound familiar? The
Mhm.
banshee's just a barn owl.
Yeah.
So, this connection between owls and the supernatural world would only continue to grow. Into medieval Europe and modern times, owls have become increasingly associated with cemeteries, witches, and demons. Again, the one and only time I saw a barn owl in the wild was at a cemetery, and it was late as heck. It's like they know to be creepy
And then
and
they're just,
weird.
like, looking a different direction, and they just, like, turn their head and look at you too.
Yeah, right. Their connection to the darkness of night made them a natural fit for stories about magic, spirits, and creatures that exist beyond the ordinary world. But perhaps nowhere is the connection between owls and witchcraft more terrifying than in the legend of La Lechuza. In Mexico and in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas, there is the legend of La Lechuza, which is described as an elderly witch that transforms into a giant owl, sometimes fully, but other times keeping the face of the elderly witch woman. That's disgusting. I would much rather it be a 7-foot tall owl than an owl with a human face. So the 7-foot tall blah, 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 blah. The 7-foot tall owl witch would often whistle at travelers, appear on lonely roads, and in some respects, she honestly doesn't seem as bad as other creatures we have covered. Her legend often involves punishing unfaithful husbands and avenging wrongdoing, which valid.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
get it, girl.
right. In other stories and legends, however, it gets a little darker. Some of the creepier legends revolving around La Lechuza says that if you hear her whistle 3 times, it means death is near. Others say she may imitate the crying of babies to lure people outside, which is also not great.
Yeah, I hate that one. It would work on me.
Right. You just hear a baby crying.
Yeah.
Ugh, so scary. No offense, I'm just scared if I hear a baby crying in general, but if I hear one and then I go outside and it's, like, pitch black and I don't see the baby, but you like, that's so
Right?
scary.
The kidnappers will use that method too. Lure you out.
Yeah.
God, that
Or they have, like, the abandoned like, the stroller on the side of the highway
yeah.
to that's so scary.
I would be that person to
And
fall for that.
I would too because I've definitely had those types of situations where not the exact same, like, not necessarily a stroller, but something similar where I am inclined to go and try and investigate it.
Mhm. They
So,
all they have to do is put a fake turtle on the road and I'm there, you know?
oh my gosh, that'd get
Yeah.
me. Fake dead bird. That'd
It's just
be
like an
good.
animatronic, it's just, like, flapping, like, one wing or something. That way you're like, "I have to stop and save it."
It's a robotic dead
Yeah.
bird. That'd be a very specific
That would be
serial killer
someone's
target.
going after
It's like
you
they're
or me specifically.
or like
Yeah.
birders.
It's like, "I hate birders, I'm gonna just kill them." I don't know, s I
That
think it's
is there was the Birdman serial killer. Do you remember him? He didn't his killing wasn't related to birds, but he was really into birds in prison, and I have his book.
oh, okay. At first, I thought you were actually talking about someone who killed birders. I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that's
No,
true."
but that wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they're outside, they do weird stuff, they go places without telling anyone to go find birds in forest and
You gotta stop talking, you're telling all of our listeners how to murder us.
okay, I'll stop. You're right, my bad. Alright, so jumping back in. In some tellings, Lala Chusa was once a human woman, but an act of wrongdoing against either herself or her child transformed her into a monster witch seeking vengeance.
Valid. Valid.
Again, valid. I'm like, okay, do what you gotta do. Some stories say that her child was killed by angry villagers for a crime that he did not commit. And it caused Lala Chusa to seek revenge by stealing other children. All right, maybe not so
No,
valid. Let's
shouldn't
not do
steal
that.
children.
Others say her child was killed by a drunk person, and because of this, she attacks bar patrons who may have had too much to drink. That seems like a fine cautionary
Mhm.
tale, sure.
Yeah.
Like many supernatural legends, there are countless versions of La Lechusa's story, but the detail that remains consistent are the ones that make her so terrifying. She is a woman, she is an owl, and she exists somewhere between the natural and supernatural worlds. Encounters with her actually continue to this day. One recent story comes from near the town of El Tigre, Chihuahua. A man was driving on a dirt road outside of town when the creature began swooping down on his truck. At one point, it hit the truck's windshield and bounced on the road in front of the vehicle. The driver, believing he was being attacked by the creature, gunned the engine, ran over the Lechuza, backed over it, and ran over it again to be certain he had killed it. Unfortunately for
Ugh.
him, when he looked in their rearview mirror, he saw the Lechuza rise again. According to the passenger in the truck, the man was so terrified that he instantly had a heart attack and died behind the wheel. She is very powerful. In the Mexico Unexplained article I read about her, it was if you attempt to kill her and you're not successful, she'll kill you. If you dream about her, she'll kill you. If you see her and she like calls to you and you don't do anything to protect yourself, she'll kill you. It's like you're just gonna die.
Wow.
It's not good.
Don't wanna see that lady bird.
No. There is another legend involving the Lechuza, which is that if you hear a whistling sound in the night, you shouldn't whistle back because she will come claim you for her own purposes. One person shared a personal family story that sounds like it could have come straight out of a horror movie. As a very young teenager, around 12 or 13 years old, my grandfather was walking home late at night from a friend's place when he heard whistling. He whistled back and waited. Soon he saw this dark figure flying toward him and swoop above his head. It whistled several times after, and my grandfather whistled back. Each time, the dark figure swooped closer until my grandfather had to throw himself to the ground to avoid being hit. Thankfully, he walked away from that experience, or else I wouldn't be here today. So I found this little excerpt on an online forum about owls and the paranormal and the Lechusa specifically. And there was various people that have had encounters with her. These stories are often stories that are passed down through families, communities, and generations, and often begin with a strange sound in the darkness or the sighting of a slightly too large owl and a question that remains unanswered. What was really out there? In October of 1975, one small Texas town found itself asking the same exact question. They found themselves in the center of a bizarre mystery when residents began reporting sightings of a massive bird like creature flying through the night sky. Witnesses described a creature far larger than any ordinary owl, with some claiming it had a strange, almost human like face and features that didn't entirely seem animal. As word spread, more reports came in from surrounding communities and fear began to grow. Local police investigated the sightings but found no evidence of an unknown creature. Over time, the monster bird of Robstown became connected to the much older legend of La Lechuza. For many people, the description sounded similar. And it made sense to me. You could actually find some of the articles from the 70s during that time online. It was a giant owl-like creature, a strange human face, and a presence appearing at night. And also, this is in Texas, where the legend of La Lechuza has seeped into. Of course, there could be other explanations, but that's not as fun.
I'm just trying to think of the human-like face. Like, owls don't really have a human-like face.
No,
I don't think. So
well,
I wonder where
actually,
that's coming from.
okay, what's interesting is when I type in La Lechuza to images, all that comes up is the barn owl. But I feel like they do kind of have human-like faces because it's probably the forward-facing eyes mainly. I'm going to copy and paste this drawing here. Um, there you go.
Ugh,
It's not
hate
great.
that. Yeah, no, huge lips. I also just Googled La Lechuza.
Oh,
It's a song. Looks like it might be a children's song.
18
It's
minutes
18 minutes
long.
long. I don't know about that. I'll have to look that up later. But yeah, the photos are horrifying. The very first one is just like a demon's body with feathers and claws, and the owl's head is like at an angle. So it's like scary.
There's one where it has both wings and arms. I just it's like, okay, that doesn't make any sense, but while many thought that the Lechuza was a human that was shape-shifting into an owl, others thought it was actually a familiar of a witch. And these type of legends aren't isolated to just Mexico. Similar stories and beliefs have appeared throughout Europe as well. By the 16th and 17th centuries, owls have become powerful symbols of darkness and witchcraft. Their nocturnal habits, silent flight, and haunting calls made them appear otherworldly. As a result, they frequently appeared in association with witches in folklore and art during this time. In some versions of these stories, owls were believed to be witch familiars, supernatural companions that served a witch's will. In darker interpretations, they were even viewed as servants of Satan himself, apparently feeding on the negative emotions of humans who crossed their path. Surprisingly, owls have also made a connection to one of our favorite topics: UFOs. Apparently, many of those that have experienced UFO encounters have reported strange owl encounters before or after the sightings.
I have a hypothesis.
Yes.
It's because they have such good hearing, they can, like, sense that there's a spaceship nearby or aliens nearby, and so they, like, don't like it, so they scream or something.
I like that idea, and that's a theory that I can't prove it, but I also can't disprove it. There is
Mhm.
not one book on this, but 2 books. There was a
Really?
volume 1 and a 2, and I tried to get access to it online, and I could not, so I'm going to see if my library has it, but this is something I really do need to dig further into. But Mike Cleland, the author of The Messengers, Owls, Synchronicity, and the UFO Abductee, theorized that owls function as screen memories in alien abductions. He observed this after interviewing hundreds of people who reported UFO sightings. What is a screen memory, you may ask? I was wondering the same exact thing. I had never heard that phrase before. So, in UFO lore, a screen memory is thought to be false or substituted memory that covers a more disturbing event or an event that maybe the aliens just don't want you to see or know about. It's classified, so they just show you a weird owl thing. Mike Cleland has lots of theories and witness encounters, which he expanded on in a second volume. I want to leave with an owl and UFO encounter someone experienced and was asking for advice on the very reputable Reddit. I think it was the paranormal like thread on Reddit.
Yes, we could trust
Yes.
Reddit.
I was like, okay, valid. And a lot of comments are owls aren't what they seem and the like. So
Birds aren't real.
basically. So it starts. One of my earliest memories from childhood is a vivid nightmare where a group of 3 to 4 large barn owls surrounded my bed and without touching me, they lifted me up and out of my bed and took me out through my bedroom window. And that's where the nightmare ended. Isn't it weird that how it's barn owls?
It's yeah, it's so specific to barn owls. But if you think about it, like those pictures that we looked at last week of the alien head, it's kind of shaped like the heart of a barn owl facial disc.
I agree with that. And the photos that you posted earlier of the barn owl nestlings, if you told me those were aliens, I'd say okay.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
barn owls aren't of this earth, is what we've just realized.
Mhm.
So, the writer explained that although it didn't sound like an intensely scary dream, the experience terrified them so deeply that for years afterward, they were unable to sleep in their own bed. They would actually make their parents hold their hands at night because they were afraid the owls would return. They were around 3 or 4 years old when the dream had occurred, and according to their parents, had never seen an owl in person before that. The person went on to say that owls have made them uneasy, and it's been decades now. They didn't think much about the experience until they began researching the connection between owls and UFOs. After learning about the theories surrounding owls and alien encounters, they began noticing owls appearing around their house. Large owls perched on telephone poles outside their bedroom window, owls hooting at night. They even described an experience while riding their bike at night when a large owl followed them for several miles, flying only 10 to 15 feet above them. Now that's very weird.
That is weird, but it's every birder's dream.
That's true because it's owls are elusive,
Mhm.
so they're hard to spot. And furthermore, to make this even weirder, the writer is in a busy suburb in Southern California, far away from any wildlife reserved or untouched wilderness, which just makes the encounters all that more eerie and unnatural. So, what is the situation with owls? From omens of deaths to ghost birds to associations with witchcrafts and UFOs, the owls have been a mystery for centuries and probably will continue to be.
All right, let's get into the scare scale. I wanna do the I wanna do if you see a Lechuza at night, you're in your car, what do you do? And also, what's your scare scale? It being 1, practically cozy, you're not even scared when you see it. 5, solid creepy vibe, but you'd probably still go outside again at night. 10, nightmare territory, you're never gonna emotionally recover from, or you're just gonna be dead.
I'll say a solid 8, a solid 7 if it's the one with the weird arms and wings, the little T-Rex
Yeah.
arm.
It's like, "Wait, why does he have arms and wings?"
Just because in all the articles I was seeing about it, they they just kept going on about how powerful the being was. What about you?
Yeah, I was thinking a 7, but if we're talking like it's like one of those photos that we were looking at, probably a 9 or even a 10. Like, I'd probably I mean, we're both dying, obviously, if we see it, but that would be really scary to see a human face on a bird. It would haunt me forever.
Well, thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Nature Obscura. Have you had a UFO encounter and seen an owl or just seen a cool owl? You can email us at natureobscurapod@gmail.com.
Stay obscure, Earthlings.
Transmission ending.